Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And we know we have folks coming in from all over. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Addie Cheney, and I am the Director of Global Engagement at Gen Next Education. I am joined today by several of my colleagues, and I do want to acknowledge them. Girish Balola, our CEO and founder, is here with me, as well as Ben Martin, our Director of Partner Engagement. Girish is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ben is in Toronto, and I am in Columbus, Ohio. So we are scattered. We also have some of our colleagues from India with us. Many of you may be familiar with them, Ms. Bhumi Shah, Ms. Chandra Majumdar, and Ms. Palak Chugh. They are also here, and they are our on-the-ground counseling gurus. So I thank them for joining us. I don't want to spend too much time in introductions and overview and want to get to the heart of today's conversation, which is the Global Scholar Program. So just quickly to run through our agenda today to give you a sense of what you can expect. We're going to cover a brief overview of the program. And while I imagine many of you may have already read about it on our website or through other materials, or maybe talked with one of us, we do want to address the overview for those who may be new to the Global Scholar Program. We'll talk about why we think you should participate, some of the benefits to you and your students. We'll also talk about some of the different university awards, the types of awards that are part of this competition that your students could have access to. And they range, just like universities are going to be diverse and varied, so too are the awards, but there are some common traits that I want to address. We'll talk about the nomination process and the important role of your input. We'll also talk about eligibility criteria, the review process, and conclude with the timeline before we sort of turn the mics over to you and allow you to ask your questions. There's a very good chance that there's going to be some volleying back and forth between me and Girish and maybe some of our other colleagues as they provide some input. So just be prepared for that. This is very much a team effort. And we really do look forward to your questions at the end. But if something really pressing does come up as we're moving through this, please do feel free to chime in. Girish, anything else at this point?
No, Addie, I just wanted to say welcome to everybody. So let's just go on.
Okay, great. So everybody, about the program, and as I said, I think many of you have probably investigated it on your own. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna pause there, and I'm actually gonna jump back just for a second because I realize there may be individuals here today who aren't as familiar with Gen Next as others are. And so if you'll indulge me, I do want to take just a moment and talk about who we are as an organization and maybe why this program makes sense within our portfolio and our mission. We are an international education based in India and North America. And though I sort of run the risk of oversimplifying who we are, I guess I would say our core mission and sort of what we were founded on 10 years ago and what continues to drive us is really seeking to make international education accessible to all students. And historically, that has played out in India and the Middle East. But we're expanding that reach, and I think that will make sense when I kind of share with you some of the primary ways in which we carry out our mission. Right now in India and the Middle East, and what we've been doing for 10 years is providing free counseling to families and students. We work with them at no cost to help them identify the right fit institutions and then take the steps towards securing admission, applying to and securing admission to those institutions. And it's really an A to Z process. We're working with them in selecting their institutions, deciding what they want to pursue, which universities might be right for them, and then every stage after until pre-departure and they're on their way to pursue their degree at their right fit university. But we also work with high schools, and we partner with high schools in a lot of different ways and really sort of adapt our services to meet the needs of those high schools we work with. So if they need supplementary or complementary counseling, we provide that to their students. We might do free workshops at their high schools for parents, for students. And really, we just, as I said, we adapt our services to meet the needs of those high schools and just to support their internationalization goals. And so I think given that, it kind of makes sense the direction we're going in with the Global Scholar Program. And we've decided to open that up to students from across the globe. And so our scope is expanding. And so now I kind of want to just giving you that little background on who we are as an organization, talk about the Global Scholar Program, and I think you'll see how it fits in with our original mission. We really, with the Global Scholar Program, it's matching talent, the talented students that you have, with opportunities at universities from across the globe, unique opportunities that are going to really create an opportunity for them to skyrocket to success during their academic career and after. And we really will, in order to ensure really that we're getting the most talented students, we rely on you all to sort of endorse and direct those students to us to apply. And that's done through your nomination. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So the benefits of the program, and when we look at it from a student perspective, it's really opening up access to universities, and opening their eyes to universities they might not have ever known about or considered or realized had such a great academic program in terms of fit for them, and also all of these other opportunities connected to it. So, we're working with universities to create scholarship awards that are going to make the experience affordable for the student, but also help them develop academically, as well as expand their leadership skills and continue developing them as an individual holistically. So really developing them on all fronts. As I said, it makes the educational experience highly affordable. And then, of course, I think some of you know your students, there is that appeal of competition and being able to be part of something that makes them, within an exclusive group. Not everyone's going to be named a global scholar. And so the opportunity to participate in that and earn that award, that badge, is something exciting for students. For you all, for our schools, for our school counselors, it's a great chance to really do what you all are striving to do on a daily basis, which is create access for your students, access and opportunity, and make that affordable within reach, right? It's also a chance for you to build some lasting connections with universities that you might not have worked with in the past. As your students come into contact with these universities and are exploring their educational opportunities there, as they are applying to these institutions, where they've received, an award, you're going to be connected to those universities. And whether they accept that award or not down the road, the Global Scholar Award, that is still a lasting connection that you're going to be building, greater knowledge about those universities that you can use to support students down the road. And then finally, as we know, their success is your success. So we know that that's what you all are working towards, and this program is a means to achieve that. So I would imagine that you all probably have some questions and are curious about what these awards look like. We've talked a little bit about it, but one thing to keep in mind is it is global. We are working with institutions from across the world to put together award packages that are highly attractive and that really are just rich with opportunity for your students. And so that's, we realize that not all students are interested in a particular area of the world to study. Many of them are open to multiple, and many have interests, across the globe. So it's not going to just be one country represented, that we are working with a lot of different institutions across the globe. The other thing I would say when it comes to the awards themselves, as I said, every university is different, so too will their awards be, but there are some basic pillars of the Global Scholar Award. And one of the key ones is, as we said, it's access, affordability. And so we're asking for universities to put together their top merit award, their top scholarship and beyond, if possible, right? We really want this to make a high quality education affordable for any students, for those high achieving students. So we're looking at top merit awards, but also there's more to it, right? So it's the universities are going and looking at the different opportunities they have to see what else they can add to this award package to make it highly attractive to students. and to create the right conditions for these top students to achieve a lot at their institutions. And so they're also, adding additional amenities, so to speak, to it, in the sense of maybe it's, admission to their honors program, or, opportunities to participate in a research institute. So the way that they're expanding the awards, it's unique, but as I said, it goes beyond just the monetary, the financial award. There's also, we're encouraging them to add some opportunities for students to expand their leadership skills, to stay engaged with the community, because again, this is about more than just making the experience affordable. It's also a launching pad for success. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about some specifics of what the components look like in different awards. We have several of them, finalized, and we'll be getting those up on our website very soon. But just to kind of give you a sense of what you might expect from one or more of these awards, here are just some components that we're seeing right now. So as I mentioned, top merit scholarships. So we're looking at somewhere around $20,000 to full tuition scholarships on these awards. But as I said, that's not it. It's also, some of them are including on-campus employment opportunities, which are going to make that experience that much more affordable. So the cost of attendance is already going to be reduced significantly with these tuition scholarships, but it's going to be that much more affordable if a student can work 10, 15 hours a week on campus, earning additional money to cover costs of, help cover their costs of housing, living expenses, books. So they're really kind of pulling out all the stops when it comes to coming up with a really attractive financial package. As I mentioned, honors college or honors program admission we're seeing that in multiple awards right now. And what that's going to do is that's going to give your students, as you know, it's going to give them access to different resources and opportunities. They're probably going to experience a different curriculum. The honors college just really opens up new doors to students. Other academic opportunities are also being, are appearing within these award packages. So study abroad, access to study abroad funding, a global studies minor program, which with it goes speaker series, access to a faculty mentor, different, I think, study away opportunities to engage in excursions. So as I said, just a diverse array of experiences and opportunities that would really enrich a student's academic career. Many of them, I think the vast majority, also include a faculty mentor when a student arrives on campus, as a way to help them acculturate and acclimate to their environment and really make the right choices academically when they start. It really puts them on the right foot when they begin. And then, another example is many of them are also providing access to ambassador programs, where they can take on a leadership role with their peers. And that may be in supporting, international students who are on campus, but it may also be just sort of generally promoting the institution to visitors and guests on the campus, so that they're learning and developing some soft skills that will serve them well over the long term. So these are just some examples of what the shape that the awards are taking. And I imagine that we will continue to see awards that are sort of on this, sort of checking these boxes, but also we're going to see additional opportunities as well as more universities commit their award packages to us. Girish, was there anything else you wanted to add on that front?
No, I think you covered it. It's the diversity of it. As we're starting to see these award packages come in, I think we'll be able to describe them a little bit better on our websites. And we're sharing that with everybody who's nominating students.
Great, thanks. So the types of students we're looking for, and again, much of this is available on our website, but there are a few things that I did want to mention that I think would also be helpful as you're considering the students that you want to nominate. Current 12th graders, right? They're in the top of their class, top 10%. They have a leadership record. They've been the captain of an athletics team. They're class president, or involved in student government. They've taken on leadership roles. that they also have strong co-curriculars, right? They're engaged in their community, that they have hobbies that they pursue vigorously and passionately. So, we really are looking for that whole package in a student. But something else to consider, because I would imagine many of you probably have 20 or 30 students within your school, depending on your numbers, that might, meet those criteria. Something else to kind of factor in might be an openness to overseas study, right? A student who really is open to that possibility. They may not have come, knocking on your door from day one saying they wanted to study abroad, but that you have the sense that they would be open to this possibility. The other thing to consider is financial capacity, right? So a student who maybe is outstanding, but financially doesn't have as great of a need as another student who probably is similarly talented and with a strong leadership and co-curricular record. Maybe it's the student, if you're thinking about limiting the number that you nominate, maybe it's the student who maybe has a little bit more financial need that you might consider nominating over the other. But we do, at this point, we have slots for 10 nominations. And so I would imagine that you all would have no trouble filling that out. But those are just some factors to consider when you all are considering which students you want to nominate.
Eddie, can I join it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to address, the 12th graders, the idea obviously is this program is designed for incoming freshmen, so not for transfer students. However, we realize that during the COVID times, there may be a lot of students who may have opted to do a gap year this year. So they may have already graduated, but they're doing a gap year and thinking about entering next year. And those students are eligible as well. We just want to make sure that these are first-time freshmen or first-year students entering college, and not for anybody who's already in a college to transfer, because those are in terms of a requirement from the university side, they are focused only on first-time college students. So I just want to kind of throw that out there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So those are the criteria we're asking from you, and that's, that helps ensure that we are really getting the top talent. And who knows the students better than you all do? Really, no one. So moving on to the nomination, which we've really kind of touched on, and I've already mentioned that you all know them better than anyone. So that's really why we're starting with you. It is absolutely free for you all to nominate students. There is no cost to it. The cost is your time of, thinking through the number of talented students you all work with, and kind of, narrowing it down to those whose names you want to put forward, and then the time it takes to provide us their names and some basic information so that we can reach out to them. It's the absolute first critical step in our vetting process, which starts with you and then goes on to an internal review of all applications that we receive. So once a student is nominated, they would be notified. Your nomination would trigger a notification to that student. They would then also, with that notification, they would receive a link to an email, to the application that they could go and fill out. And once we have their application, we begin evaluating them and just making sure that they are meeting those criteria. And that we can begin the matching process to ensure that we have a university award to match them to, based on the information they put forward, what they want to study, their grade point average, their scores, and at that point, we sort of make sure that they match with at least one institution. Many of them may match with more. And then at that point, we would hand them off to the university for that third stage of vetting and kind of final selection. But it all starts with you all with your nomination. And we'll keep you informed.
One thing that I'd like to throw, we talked about how it's simple and free for the counselors to nominate. I just want to highlight that it's free for the students to participate as well. So there's no fee whatsoever for either you or a student to complete the application. I just want to highlight that as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And the last thing I guess I would say about nomination process is that we will keep you informed along the way. You're invested in this and we want to keep you informed. You've taken the step to nominate these students. You know, as your students progress in the process, we will keep you informed as they move along. You're invested in them and we're invested in you. So that's something else that I just wanted to share with you. Then the final thing before I think we shift to question and answer is just to give you a sense of the timeline, and it is available on our website. So that's something you can go and refer to. This isn't the only place that you're going to see that. So right now we're in the nomination and application period. We're sort of doing both simultaneously, taking in nominations and also receiving applications from students. You know, if you're nominating students, we receive those and we will communicate with the students to sort of nudge them to complete their application. But if you can also do that, that would be wonderful. This partnership, right? It goes beyond the nomination. So if there's anything you can do to encourage them to fill out and submit those applications, because these opportunities really are amazing and we want to make sure the students take advantage of them. We will be doing our internal evaluation process of applications between October 15th and the 30th. And then we will be selecting the global scholars, those that sort of meet our criteria and match with at least one university award by the end of October. We would then be handing things off to universities to start reviewing the candidates that have matched with their institution, you know, and it would really be in the hands of the universities. And it's ultimately their decision as to whom they want to offer an award to. By the 16th of December, we will be doing an announcement of Global Scholar Awards. So universities will have gotten back to us, selected. Maybe they get a selection of 10 students, they've committed 5 awards, so they come back to us and say, these are the 5 students we want to offer a Global Scholar Award to. And we will then be working with the students, letting them know which awards they have been offered and encouraging them, right, to begin considering application. You know, at that point, the students would be asked to apply to the universities they have greatest interest in. And maybe what happens is before they even hear about the award is that they learn about the institution in the process of applying, or excuse me, in the process of applying for the Global Scholar Award. They learn about, you know, which universities they've matched with, and they start conducting research and learning about those universities and get excited and start applying to the university before they've even heard back as to whether they've been awarded a global scholar from that particular institution. And so that's definitely a possibility as well. Then, you know, obviously the students would be completing their own applications to the institutions that they want to pursue. And they would make a final commitment in the spring as to which Global Scholar Award they would accept. So we can talk more about timeline. I see a lot of questions coming in. So Girish, is there anything else you want to start kind of fielding those questions or anything else you want to add at this point before we open it up?
No, I think the questions are very relevant to all the things that we've covered, and we expected some of these questions to come up. So if you didn't hear some of the things that we said that might answer these questions, we'll clarify that now. I just want to kind of just on the top, just say this is the first year of the program. So we're very excited to have launched this program recently. So we don't have any historical data in terms of how many students applied or how many students placed into the Global Scholar Program in previous years. We're hoping for a very successful year this year. And with the kinds of nominations we're seeing and the kinds of conversations we're having with universities, it looks very promising that we'll have a very successful year. So with that said, I know we have a timeline that Addie just shared. We're also hearing from universities who are very interested in participating. And as you can imagine, with everything they're having to deal with in terms of COVID, this is an additional project on their plates, and they're working very diligently to get the award commitments in. So we anticipate there may be a slight delay in them getting in everything that they need to. And we're trying to be a little bit more fluid and accommodating to that. But we want to try to stick to that timeline as best as possible. So I want to make sure that we let you know, and we'll keep you posted in terms of where your nominees are, how many of them actually applied and which awards they're eligible for and where those universities are in their selection process. The timeline we establish is what we intend to stick to, but since COVID is a distraction right now, I think we may have to be a little bit fluid with some of those hard set dates. So that's why I just wanted to throw it out there. Addie, there's quite a few questions coming in. Would you like me to ask them and you can address them?
Sure. I mean, I think that probably both of us. I'm gonna fuss with. Hold on one second. I want to fuss with my my sharing right now, just so we have some of the information on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, but absolutely, please do.
Yeah, well, we're doing that. One of the first questions that came in was, it looks like there's a student here from 9th grade. I really appreciate your eagerness to be part of this. But as we mentioned, this program is specifically for graduating seniors who can enter college next year. So obviously, if you're in 9th grade, in a couple of years from now, when you're in the 12th grade, you could definitely keep an eye out on the program and have your counselor at your school nominate you. The next question is, how many can we nominate from our school? Right now, originally we had 5 spaces on the nomination form, and we started getting requests from school counselors asking to nominate additional students. So we've expanded the space to 10 nominees on each form. Hopefully that'll be enough, unless you have an amazing batch of students, and if you think more deserve the opportunity, please do let us know. Let's see. You don't calculate GPAs. Can you provide their IB grades? Absolutely. We recognize that there are different grading scales across the world coming from different curricula, different systems. And we're asking for students to report it as they have been issued. And so we will do our due diligence in terms of quote unquote converting into a GPA or trying to kind of find some equivalency, because from the university standpoint, some of the awards will have certain GPA requirements. So we want to make sure, as we're screening candidates for eligibility, we want to make sure that we're kind of on par. So I just want to address that. Can you clarify that the Gen X process is separate from the university admissions process? So students do need to apply separately. Absolutely. As Addie mentioned, the students apply. We do the initial screening. We do that initial screening to ensure that all applicants to the program meet the essential criteria for each award. So a student may be eligible for multiple awards. So we want to screen the candidate to make sure they're eligible for these awards, and then submit only the eligible candidates to each university. So their work is focused on only reviewing applicants who are eligible for their award based on their established criteria. Once our process is done, which we screen, we deliver the nominees to the universities, they review, they select the awardees. We inform the awardees and their counselors of their selection to the program or the award that they received. Now, conceivably, a student could receive multiple awards from multiple institutions, so then the choice is the student. Then obviously, the student will have to go through the admission process. In my opinion, personally, at that stage, it's merely a formality, because a student has submitted as much info as possible for the university to select the student, and then the application process would be required to go through the admissions process for the university. There's a question from Pramod about how many students receive these scholarships. Like I mentioned, this is our inaugural year, so we don't have any historical data. I would love to be able to answer those questions in, say, January or April, February, March timeframe.
Is this across streams
and
for which grades? Yeah, absolutely. It is across streams. Some institutions may, we've seen an example of a university looking to offer awards to students within a particular field, a broad field of computing sciences, but that's in the minority. The vast majority are really open to students from across all backgrounds and really pursuing all different areas of study. So yes, across all streams. And then which grades, as Girish mentioned earlier, students who are looking to pursue their first year of university education, bachelor's degree education.
In
So that could
2020.
be
So they
in
would be
fall
entering college
2021.
in fall of 21.
Yeah.
Is the program for Latin American students? Absolutely. We encourage students from all over the world to be nominated and apply. So please send those nominations in. Do you have a list of these universities? The university commitments, as we call them, are rolling in right now. And so pretty soon we will have the list and some award components listed on the website. We're just waiting for several more of these to come in, so we have a robust number of these awards to list on the website. Is it possible for a 14? So that's the same question from Krish. As I mentioned earlier, you have to be a high school senior graduating, and you have to be nominated by a counselor at your school. What grade in AS and A level is accepted to get nominated for the scholarship? Vijayalakshmi, the best answer I can give you is each of these universities are setting their own criteria in terms of what they deem eligible for a Global Scholar Award. Obviously, the better the grades, the better, but it's not just about grades. Like we mentioned, the Global Scholar Award is geared toward high talent students who not only do well academically, but also are showing a lot of leadership skills, extra co-curricular activities and service commitments, etc. So it's a very holistic nature, and so it's not just about getting the A stars on your grades. There's no exam that you have to give to be eligible for this award. Thank you, Tista. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate it. We are really excited to launch this program. It's a long time in the making, and it just sounds like a great time for us to be doing it. We are in conversations, Michael and Deborah, with universities from the UK and Canada and New Zealand even, and other parts of the world. So we're just waiting for all of their commitments to come in so we can list all those university names and what the award components are on our website.
Good question.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think you all are eligible to unmute yourself, and or at least you've been given the control. So if you want to, you can unmute yourself and ask us a question. If not, keep the questions coming through the chat function. Again, as you see on your screen, there's the URL for you to go and nominate the students. If you have any questions, you can always email us. Do you have to create student portfolios? Not necessarily. You don't need to create the student portfolios. The application that the student completes has space for them to list all of their extracurricular and leadership roles that they have participated in. And, every student has different kinds of experiences, and they may have different credentials to show what they've done. In some cases, we're seeing students send in their certificates that they've received for doing something or the other. If there are supporting letters from, coaches or organizations that participated in. Anything that'll help us as we're screening the students, anything that'll help us recognize that the student has done a variety of different things. Obviously, the students self-reporting their grades, if they have taken the SAT or ACT, or if they've taken the TOEFL or the IELTS or the PTE, which we realize currently is very difficult with all the tests that are being canceled. But there are some institutions who have established an SAT or a TOEFL score requirement. And because of that, we're asking for every applicant, every student applicant, to let us know if they have taken the test and if they have, what their scores are. If they haven't, then obviously we're not going to force or require that the student go take that test. But it just means that if they have not been able to take the SAT or the ACT or the TOEFL at this point because of COVID restrictions, they may not be eligible for an award at a particular university which has a SAT score as a requirement. And I'm happy to say that the ones that we're seeing, not all of them have the requirement, but some do. And we'll manage that process internally. I think the questions are coming in faster than I can answer. The best contact is that globalscholar@gennexeducation.com. So if you can just email us there, that'll be the best way to reach us. If a student merits an award, do they still need to qualify the SAT or ACT? I just answered that, so I'll just reiterate that. If they have taken the ACT or the SAT, and if they have a score, we ask them to turn in the score. Same thing goes for AP scores. If they have AP scores, they could turn it in. But like I said, we realize that currently not many students can actually appear for the SAT or the ACT or the TOEFL exams. But because some of the institutions have made that a requirement, we just have to kind of navigate the process and make sure that the students who are not able to take the exams are screened for opportunities at institutions that do not have that as an absolute requirement. So I hope that answers the question. Anything you would add to that, Addie?
No, and I think I would just reiterate that universities are very understanding of the limitations students are placing right now. And so we're not seeing a lot of the awards. That's not to say that we won't see more roll in, more award commitments with that ACT, SAT requirement. But, they are, I think, recognizing the obstacles that students are facing. So yeah, if the students have taken them and if they have the ability to take it, it's always in their interest to do so. I think that's something we consistently say to students. But, there are opportunities that don't necessarily have, the standardized test requirement tied to them.
Yeah. Pramod, the question is about, is this only for undergrad students or master's applicants? Right now, this program, the Global Scholar Program, is for undergrad students who are entering a bachelor's course of study at the universities next fall. We are actually in conversations right now to launch a parallel program for the master's students. So that's still in discussion. And so we'll probably have some updates for you later this semester. Currently, universities from how many countries are partnering? Meghna, so we have conversations. We have had conversations with universities, US, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Australia. I think somebody even in India had expressed an interest in participating. So we are, like I said, like we've mentioned many times, we're waiting for all the commitments to roll in. And I will have an answer for you in terms of exact number of universities later this month. And I think Addie alluded to this earlier. The reason we want to make sure this is a global participation by universities is because we realize that not all students want to come study in the US, and they have interest in other parts of the world. And we're reaching out to universities in other parts of the world to make sure they are participating so they can attract the same kind of high talent that our US universities are doing through this program. Great questions. Thank you. I really appreciate that. What else? Anything else we can answer for you?
And maybe even from our team, if there's anything that they think that we could or should cover, would welcome that nudge from them.
Eddie, you want to throw the Discovery Series slide up there?
Absolutely.
I just want to mention, since you're all here, I thought I wanted to share this with you as we have several sessions, virtual sessions we've been hosting with universities from across the world on a platform. And the next one is coming up on this Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time in the US. And this one will specifically host universities across the US. They'll have another one coming up on the 16th, which will host a series of universities from the UK, Ireland, and Europe. And so we have several of these. So I encourage you as counselors to definitely attend, because I think you can make some great contacts at these universities. And if you have students exploring opportunities, please encourage them to visit us on those days as well. You can go to the gennext.me/virtual lobby. Keep in mind the virtual lobby is case sensitive. So if you do that, you will be brought to our virtual platform. And we would love to see you on the 8th and other sessions as well. So just want to throw that out there. There you go. It's in the link. Any other questions that we can answer for you?
I mistyped the second link, so I'm going to redo that, everybody. Hold on one second. there we go. Yeah, and please do with it. If you know, I know what it's like is that you sort of take in a lot of information and you start thinking about something and questions occur later. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any of your questions. Oh, we've got the selection process for the awards. Can you throw some more light on that?
I'm so sorry to be interrupting.
Yeah.
Ari, the link that you shared for nomination is only shared with the panelists. I think the attendees would also like to have.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I think everybody is a panelist right now.
We have to, yeah, I don't know if maybe all of them have had it. So I'll just repeat those. That's not a problem. Thank you, Palak.
I mean, the other thing I'll say before Palak, Addie, you start answering that question is please share this with other counselors in your networks. I know it increases the competition for your students, but we would love to have as many students have access to this opportunity. So if there are other counselors you think may be interested in nominating students, please do so, because we'd like to have a robust class of global scholars this next year. So Addie, you want to talk?
So the selection process, you know, as I said, it's kind of multi-staged. The first I guess the first step in the selection process really starts with high school counselors high schools nominating their students. So that's the first stage of the selection process. And then it moves on because you all, again, know your students, you're selecting them based on the criteria we have articulated and your sort of deeper knowledge of the students' achievements, interests, potential, those kinds of things. So that's the first step. The second step is with Gen Next. And so we, as Girish had mentioned earlier, we're sort of screening all of the applicants. You know, once they've been nominated, it's in their hands, the students' hands to apply. We receive their application materials and we will screen them to make sure they meet the basic criteria, as well as, you know, also ensuring that they are meeting the criteria that at least one university award. We want to make sure that they've matched with at least one. It's very likely that they're going to match with more than one. And so we just want to make sure that they do. And at that point, we will communicate with the student that they have been matched with, let's just say 3 different university awards, and we'll encourage them to start looking into those universities. Hey, you've matched with University X, University Y, University Z. We encourage you to start researching those universities now. At that point, we would then hand the students materials off to the universities, the 3 universities they've matched with, for them to do sort of a deeper look and make final decisions. That one student who matched with 3 different universities may sort of be in competition with 10, 15 other students at each of those universities, right? And the universities are going to evaluate them based on their criteria, their own unique standards at their institution. You know, they're also trying to build a class. So they're looking for the right students that they want to bring onto their campus. And, you know, at that point, while the universities are looking over the applicants' materials, the student applicants' materials, we would also ask students to rank which universities of the 3, again, our hypothetical student, if they've matched with 3, of those 3, how would you rank them in order of preference, right? And we use that information to really ensure that matching process is as effective as possible. So we would then share that with those universities as well, so that they have that information. And the universities will determine if which student meets their criteria and make selections based on that, on their individual criteria. And we would then make those those communications to the students selected to receive a Global Scholar Award. Nothing's finalized at that point though, right? The students would still have to consider that opportunity, other opportunities maybe they have in their hands, and begin the application process should they choose to pursue one of the universities who has offered them a Global Scholar Award. And then there's still time to decide. So they could apply at that point, and maybe they decide they want to go with the university that's offered them a Global Scholar Award, or maybe they decide they want to pursue something else. At that point, it is in the student's hands. So I think I've covered selection, but also kind of gone beyond that. And I hope that that's been helpful. Girish, is there anything else? You're muted.
No, that's Absolutely. I think you covered it all. Not really, right? I mean, I think as students get to review the universities that they're eligible for, like you mentioned, they'll start forming their own opinions on which one might be more attractive. Now, it is kind of a competition, but it's also a selection process. So at the end of the day, their choice or their preference would have to match with the university selecting them as one of the awardees. So it could be pretty competitive. But like you've highlighted a couple of times, we want to make sure that a student has at least one opportunity. And so it's really very important for not only for you to nominate the student, but the student complete the application as soon as possible. Michael, I see your question about what is the deadline for student to apply. Our established process right now, the timeline is the students need to apply by October 15th, because we want to have enough time to review each and every candidate's application, ensuring that they meet all the basic criteria, but then having to match them with each university award criteria. As you can imagine, it'll take us a little bit of time, so we want to make sure we get these applications in as soon as possible. It's a very simple application process. For you to nominate, it's just mentioning the student's name, email, etc., and for the student to go in and complete the application. So I encourage you to not only nominate, but then really encourage those students to go in and complete the application as soon as possible. And I really appreciate you taking the time this morning, afternoon, evening to join us. What information do they need to provide us with? So we're basically asking for some basic info, the names, emails, phone numbers, etc. In addition to that, we're asking them to provide us with their grades from 9th, 10th, and 11th, and any predicted 12th grade scores if they're in a position to predict those scores. We're asking them to submit a test score if they've taken a test score like the SAT, ACT, or a TOEFL, IELTS for English proficiency, or a Pearson test of English. And then we're asking for any extracurriculars that they've participated in, if they can either highlight it in a brief written form, or like I mentioned earlier, add any certificates they've received, anything to show us that they have been an active leader on campus and very active in both academics and co-curriculars, etc. We're also asking them to write a brief statement. I don't want to say the word essay, but a brief statement, because we want to understand what their long-term goals are. We believe these awards are pretty prestigious. They're competitive. We want to make sure that the students who are eligible and who eventually get these awards are top talent, high achieving students, because we're trying to create an environment for them that will really help them develop completely to be a global leader. And so we're asking them to just write a brief statement. And the applications that have come in, we're reading some wonderful statements from students. So that's basically it. Anything else we asked for, Addie, besides those?
No, I think you've
That's it, right? Yeah.
checked. Yeah, it is really straightforward.
You can submit a transcript for them if you want to. We're actually just asking them to submit a score in a box in the application. But if you want to send a transcript to us, you can absolutely email that transcript to globalscholar@genexeducation.com, and we'll know it's coming from you. So then we know who your nominees are, and we'll make sure that they're put into their files.
I do have a question here, and I think this can be for the benefit of counselors.
Mm-hmm.
Counselors from the CBSE school. I was asked this question by a counselor yesterday, wherein they wanted to know that a lot of CBSE schools do not share transcripts with their students. They either directly email to the concerned university or to the organization, and rather provide them with predicted grades. So in this case, do you want to throw some light on how the grades will be expected from the counselors? How are they supposed to send those across to you? Should they just fill it in an application, or should they email it directly to the organization?
Yeah, thank you, Palak. So what we're asking for students is to self-report their grades, right? So we're asking, it's an honor system. in the application that the student completes, we're asking them to list their 9th grade score, 10th grade score, 11th grade score, whatever curriculum they're coming from. If it's an IB score, list an IB score. If it's a CBSE score, list a CBSE score. We're not basing our decisions for admission to a university. That's the university's role later on. We're using these self-reported scores. And obviously, like I said, we're depending on the honor system for the student to be truthful, because this information, all of it, will be supplied to the university as they select their student awardees. Now, post that, the student would have to apply and will have to send in the transcripts to the universities like they would in any normal application process, which at that point, if there's a discrepancy between what they originally reported on the Global Scholar application as opposed to what the transcripts show, then there will be an issue. So we're trusting the student to report in their actual grades for 9th, 10th, and 11th, and if they have predicted scores coming from the school. If they feel that they need to submit a letter from a counselor or any other kind of supporting document, it's up to the student. There's plenty of opportunity for them to upload documents into the application, just like they would a certificate of accomplishment. They can do that. But we're taking the student's word on what they self-report their grades will be. The school doesn't need to send us a transcript at this point, and neither does a counselor need to get involved in verifying those grades. But when they apply to college, eventually they will have to submit the score. So let's just hope that their self-reported score and the transcript score are the same. Does that clarify, Palak?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope that answered your question too, Michael, in terms of sending the transcripts in. Our pleasure. Thank you so much for being. Any other questions? We'll stick around as long as you have questions.
Thanks, Benjamin. We look forward to receiving your nominations. It'll be exciting. So, and do let us know if you have any questions in the meantime. Michael, maybe we could talk about that. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Maybe we could chat about that offline. I can, if you don't mind, just following up over Global Scholar at gennexteducation.com. We can set up a time to have a conversation about what that collaboration might look like. But absolutely, we would love to talk further about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Sirisha. Good to have you. Please give my regards to Manila and Ambika.
I'm getting a little wild, but there we go.
Is the scholarship program a first of its kind? We'd like to believe that this is a first of a kind program. We have not seen anything like this anywhere else. Obviously, we put a lot of thought into creating something like this to make sure that students around the world had access to educational opportunities, the ones that we've been promoting for the last decade or so. There are many other scholarship programs, as you can imagine. Each one has its own flavor. And I guess in the US, there's a program called Quest Bridge. I don't know if you've heard of that one, that's geared toward low-income students and helping them get access to some top-notch colleges around the US. That's one that, again, there's no comparable program to ours, but there are other programs that have similar components to it. Universities themselves have their own scholarship programs of all kinds. This effort is a first of its kind because not only does it just highlight the merit scholarships that universities typically advertise, it's helping the universities themselves identify various components of student experience on campus that is spread out across campus, bring it all under one umbrella, and making sure that these are all opportunities that a Global Scholar winner can have access to without having to spend the time it requires to get on campus and identify these opportunities. I remember being back in college and having to look at different parts of the campus to find opportunities, whether it's student government or whether it's student ambassadorship or on-campus employment. This program attempts to bring all of that under one umbrella and make sure that the students are applying for these opportunities, and they're applying because you're nominating for these opportunities, are obviously deserving, and they get access to this entire package of opportunities that will help them be a better student, a better leader, and a better global citizen. And that's the whole idea. And that's why we like to think this is a first of its kind. Yes, Marcella, they can start working on the application. What happens is as soon as you submit the nomination, there's an email that's triggered that the student receives that email and are invited to apply with a link to the application form. So it's an immediate process. If you submit a nomination today, within the next few minutes after you hit submit, an email is generated to each of your student nominees with the link to the application form. And I do have to add that we're so excited the kinds of nominations we're receiving from across the world. We are so thrilled and excited that over the last 2 weeks, we've heard from counselors, nominators from around the world in countries that I have never been to, so which is really, really exciting. Do we get all the questions, Addie?
I think so. And we were just reflecting on what great questions we received today. So yeah, thank you all for that. You're definitely helping us think about and articulate the program very clearly. So great questions.
Wonderful. I don't want to keep them too long on the call, but
Yeah,
yeah, we're an hour in, so.
Well, again, thank you all for joining us. Any additional questions that you all have, you are more than welcome to send them our way. I'm going to go ahead, and I know that it was requested that I go back to the deadline page, but I'm going to go back to where we have our email address on the screen, globalscholar@gennexteducation.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. We would be happy to field any additional questions that you have. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I just put the email in the chat too.
Thanks.
So
Thanks, Garish.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Really appreciate all your questions. Look forward to your nominations and everybody here today. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Palak, Bhumi, and Chandra. And we look forward to all of your nominations. Have
Take
a
care,
wonderful
everybody.
rest of the day. Yeah, bye-bye.